If you've been in business very long, you've seen the dysfunctional organization and probably hightailed it out of there as fast as you could. Today I'm going to tell a story about a hypothetical organization that has moved from their dysfunction to actually becoming a functional organization and the path they took to get there. You've been there, it's your office. You know when you walk in, the tension is there. There's arguments around you. There's turf wars. People fight about space, who gets to sit where, about resources, who gets to use what printer for what, and what ink goes onto whose budget report. Ridiculous things that we fight about. Departments, divisions, teams all at each other, and not really with a whole lot of reason or sense to it all. Sometimes it just doesn't make sense. The IT technical people fighting with the product division and trying to jockey for position on whose opinion is more important about what needs to go into the product that the IT people are building, but the product people are the ones that own the product, but the IT is building it, but IT. And then at the department level or division level, you've got the IT budget versus the product budget, and the executives argue at that level, trying to jockey for position and who's going to get what, and whose projects are more important, and what's going to do better for the company and for themselves. And even all the way up to the executive level, you hear of fights in the boardroom between the CEO and the CIO, and they're literally yelling at each other during the boardroom meetings. Ridiculous. Acting like children, but not acting like children. Children may fight like that a little bit, but they turn around and hook arms and go away as friends again later. Sometimes they have an idea. Our organizations are made up of a lot of different things. Communication styles, manners of interacting, the language we use. Is it a technically laced language? Is profanity allowed? The customs within the organization, there are customs within organizations. Practices, expected behaviors, the values, the thoughts we have about the meanings of different things. All of these things are what make up our culture as an organization. And the culture is really what that feeling is when you walk in the office, that sense of joy or dread you get when you walk through the door. It all revolves around the culture of the organization. As a coach, when I'm working with leaders, I look for what's known as a keystone. In architecture, in an arch, there's something called a keystone. It's right there in the middle, with the face on it here in the picture. And that keystone holds everything else together. In coaching, we look for keystone behaviors or keystone indicators that are things that if we work on this one thing with an executive or a leader, it moves a lot of things, because there's other things that you could work on. There's a million things that you can work on as in your organization, right? We could work on any one of these things. What's important? What's the real keystone that's going to move the organization from being this dysfunctional place where people are arguing and resources are a problem? The one thing that we've found is values. If you can get the executive group to agree to values, then you can start to see your dysfunction become function. If they will agree to align on a common set of values and commit to do the hard work that it takes to instill those values, because up until this point, the organization has had what I call an accidental culture. The culture has arisen just because it did. Nobody planned it that way. It just happened that way. And what we're trying to do now is drive a particular culture with a particular set of values that identify that culture. That's why I've developed this values exercise. You can have me come in and help facilitate it with you, but it's here. You'll be able to download it on this page in a minute. Basically, there's 4 different types of values. There's permission to play values, which are, I will not work with someone who's a liar, that kind of value. There's aspirational values, which are those values that we strive toward. We might attain them sometimes, but not all the time. But we really, that's what we aspire to be, is these values. There's accidental values, values that we hold, but we didn't really realize we held. And there's core values. These are the core values that we hold in our hearts as the core of who we are as an organization. And if we can get the executive team to agree on the core values and aspirational values, and then assess the whole rest of the organization and see where they lie on all of those values. Then we can do a gap analysis. So we have this assessment that explains how to go about doing it, a list of different values, and when we're done with all that, you compile that data. It's really interesting to slice this data different ways and look at where we align and where we don't. But don't spend too much time doing that if you're doing this yourself. If you're doing it with me, I won't let you spend too much time doing that. What we really want to do is look at those core and aspirational values, see where they align, where they don't, and look at doing two things. One, finding a quick win, something that we can bring together quickly where we're already close, but we can focus on that one and it will really come into alignment, and that will become something strong. The other thing we want to focus on is the values that are the farthest apart. And those are the ones that are really going to take the hard work to move toward one another. And we'll develop an action plan of how to go about bringing that culture to be and to instill those values. We'll develop a plan of action that helps you come to a culture that you've now designed. Not just accidental, but a culture that is designed for you to be the organization that you really, really want to be. And in the end, makes it a great place to work. It's not that in the end, there aren't any arguments anymore. It's that in the end, the arguments aren't personal. They're about the business. And we can argue about the data, we can argue about the information, we can argue about the customers. And in the end, hook arms, go out for coffee, and we have a positive culture that we've built. This assessment is downloadable on this page. Please take a look down there. Just download it. You can do it yourself if you feel like it. I would love to come in and help you with it and work with you to develop a plan of action that can help you turn the ship and get your culture online with where you would like it to be. I appreciate you. Thank you for your time. This is Joseph Leif. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.